Watching these games with Derek Carr and these first two, what are you thinking when you're watching this?
Well, I'm thinking he's doing right by getting that man right there the ball. That's for sure. Yeah, that man he's a baller. I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to evolve in this league.
New Orleans Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed may be the most underrated receiver and one of the most underrated players all around the NFL. But now he is starting to get some more attention given the fact that he is an exciting player to watch. He's making big plays, and plus the Saints are one of the better teams in the NFL right now, and he's a big reason for that. The team as a whole is getting a lot more media and national coverage because of how well they've been doing the past few weeks, and Rashid Shaheed is a part of that. He has simply been nothing but great for the Saints since he first arrived as an undrafted rookie free agent in 2022 for the New Orleans Saints. And it just seems like every week he makes another exciting, explosive play. The dude may be the most explosive player in the NFL. I'm excited to be partnering up with GameTime. GameTime is the best place to get tickets, especially last minute. And with the NFL season officially here, make sure you guys check them out. Download the GameTime app and you'll see how easy it is and how cheap their tickets are. And their GameTime picks makes it easy to find cheap tickets. If you find a lower price on another website for that specific seat, they'll cover 110% of the difference. They also have photos of each seat, so that way you know what the view is going to look like from where you're sitting. Just download the GameTime app and use my promo code TRUEFAN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. What time is it? It's game time. And if you want to help support me and the channel in any other ways, you can just click my link tree down in the description. There's lots of options for you there as well. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Let's get back to the video. Since entering the league, all Rashid Shaheed has done is make big plays with his electric speed on offense and special teams. Earlier this week, Shaheed went on some podcasts and some shows and was asked some questions, and he credits the coaches and former Saint wide receiver Michael Thomas for helping him learn how to approach the game, helping him adjust to NFL speed, and kind of just getting accustomed to being an NFL player.
The difference in your mentality now and your confidence from coming in as an undrafted rookie.
Right, yeah, no, it means everything. Coaches, they've taught me how to become a pro very quickly. And the guys that have come before me, they kind of have led the way. And coming in as a young guy and looking at guys like Michael Thomas and all the great vets that we've had, they've given great examples of how to approach each and every day.
Now it's really cool to see him credit Michael Thomas. A lot of people like to say that he was a team cancer, but really no one who's ever been asked about him has had negative things to say about him. Rashid Shaheed, Chris Olave, A.T. Perry have all said great things about Michael Thomas and how he helped them adjust and become pro NFL players. So much for the team cancer narrative. But back to the main topic of Rashid Shaheed. He is an electrifying and fast guy. We get it. But we don't exactly know how fast he is because he wasn't able to run the 40-yard dash going into the NFL draft because he tore his ACL, wasn't able to do the 40-yard dash, the combine, or his pro days, which probably was a huge reason why he wasn't drafted, which ultimately played out for the Saints. I mean, they got themselves a stud. They paid him a lot of money to end up with the Saints, and he hasn't looked back since. Neither have the Saints. But when you watch this dude play, you probably think to yourself, he may be one of the fastest NFL players in the NFL or the fastest player in the NFL alongside Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill. And no doubt, both of these guys are really fun players to watch. NFL Game Day posted a graphic a few weeks ago, and since 2022, Rashid Shaheed has 5 50-yard touchdowns, Tyreek Hill has 7, Jamar Chase has 4. Shaheed is in good company. The graphic says 4. That was posted before the Cowboys game. Rashid Shaheed is in an elite tier with some of the best playmakers in the NFL. Now, I would like to mention that back in 2022, after the draft, after they signed Shaheed, I was on the hype train. I went through some old messages and some old posts I had, and I found a screenshot of a message I sent someone. I was like, dude, this Shaheed guy, he's really good. We could use him like Deontay Hardy, but better. I really think he could be something for us. So I would just like to mention that I was on the Rashid Shaheed hype train before he even came to minicamp or even had a practice. I also would like to mention that I was so much on this hype train that I got to do an interview with him for when I was doing articles and stuff. So just keep that in mind, that I was the first person on the Shaheed hype train. Looking at all of his touchdowns though, over the last 3 years, They have all been very, very exciting. Touchdowns, of course, are exciting and awesome, but when he scores, it's a little bit different. All of his touchdowns average out to be 51.4 yards on average. He scored 11 touchdowns in his NFL career, including punt returns, rushing, receiving, 11 total. And the average is 51.4 yards. What the actual that is actually insane. And I know I don't need to remind any Saints fans, but this dude, may I remind you, went undrafted, and now he's one of the most explosive and underrated players in the NFL. He didn't play half of his rookie year. He had Pete Carmichael calling plays for 2 seasons. Derek Carr wasn't good in 2023. Andy Dalton was his quarterback in 2022. This dude was bound and set up for failure, and yet both him and Chris Olave were able to find ways to have success, and now they're finally in a good situation under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, and now Derek Carr is performing at a much higher level than he did last season. And I feel like we haven't even seen the full potential and talents of Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, which is crazy to say because both of these guys are really good. Olave's had 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard years. Rashid Shaheed had 700 receiving yards last season, made his first Pro Bowl, and was an All-Pro player last season as a returner. But now Rashid Shaheed is starting to get national coverage and recognition because now he's in a system that fits him and utilizes him in creative ways, and Derek Carr has been letting that thing go to him deep downfield. Defenses are starting to respect him and his speed. For example, versus the Dallas Cowboys on Rashid Shaheed's 70-yard touchdown, they played a cover 2 soft shell, basically a defense specifically to make sure Rashid Shaheed doesn't score a deep touchdown. But the Cowboys tried. Rashid Shaheed is just so fast. They underestimated how fast and quick this dude is. He flew right by them and scored a 70-yard touchdown. This dude does a nice breakdown of the whole situation.
The fact that the Cowboys ran a coverage that should prevent this from happening on Rashid Shaheed's side of the field, and it still happened, I mean, that just speaks volumes to who someone, in my opinion, is the most electric man in all of NFL right now, right?
And of course, we cannot undermine the throw. This was an absolute laser dime dot from quarterback Derek Carr to Rashid Shaheed. And he had also a really nice dime to Rashid Shaheed in week 1 for a 56-yard touchdown, the first one of the season. And speaking of Derek Carr, when Rashid Shaheed was on the Kay Adams show after Sunday's victory versus the Dallas Cowboys, he was asked how to describe Derek Carr, and he said that he's determined after a rough 2023 year, determined to prove everyone wrong and prove that last season was a fluke. It was injuries. It was a whole bunch of different things. He's determined to win, basically.
Man, that's tough. He's a lot of things. I would say determined. Like I said, each and every day he comes in with the same mindset. First guy here, last guy to leave. And, he leads us and he gives us young guys, especially guys like me and Chris, confidence to go out there and just be ourselves.
Not only is Rashid Shaheed being used better in the receiving game, but he's just being used more by Clint Kubiak in a more creative way. I mean, look at this formation, for example. We have Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave at receiver. Then we have Taysom Hill at fullback and Rashid Shaheed in the backfield. What are defenses supposed to do to stop this? What defense? If you go to man coverage, then you have a linebacker on Shaheed and a corner on Kamara. That's a mismatch. If you go to zone, then Olave is going to break that. If you have a corner follow Shaheed into the backfield, then you have a linebacker on Kamara. Like, there's just mismatches everywhere on this play. Then they did it twice. Once against the Panthers, which resulted in a touchdown. Then versus the Cowboys, they did a handoff or a pitch kind of thing to Shaheed. They could do so many different things out of this formation. They could do a trick play with Taysom Hill throwing the football. What are teams and defenses supposed to do to stop this? The Panthers give Shaheed so much attention against them that they had 3 guys following him, which allowed Juwan Johnson to get wide open for the touchdown. Near the end of the Kay Adams show for Rashid Shaheed, and before he left and logged off, Raiders wide receiver and one of the best receivers in the NFL now for probably over the last, 10 years, Davante Adams hopped on and had some really high praise for Rashid Shaheed, calling him a ball player, saying that Derek Carr is having a lot more success, because he's getting the ball to Rashid Shaheed.
Watching these games with Derek Carr and these first two, what are you thinking when you're watching this?
Well, I'm thinking he's doing right by getting that man right there the ball. That's for sure. Some of his is going to continue to evolve as far as the love that he gets, and I think he's getting some of the early Tyreek love right now, the speed and the stretch the field and all of that. But if you really pay attention to his game, the man can play. He can run routes. He's only going to get better. So I'm locked in. He first got my attention when I seen 22 running a bomb down the right side. I'm like, I don't know how many times I've seen number 22 running a go route, but yeah, that man he's a baller. I'm looking forward to seeing him continue to evolve in this league.
It's really cool to see Davante Adams, one of the better players in the NFL, give props to a guy who was undrafted a few years ago and is now starting to make a name for himself. Now, if Davante Adams, if the Raiders start declining and he wants to, request a trade, he went to the Raiders to play with Derek Carr, if Davante Adams wants to come to the Saints, request a trade here, I wouldn't mind that either. And if the Saints are actual Super Bowl contenders and they feel like they're one piece away from getting there, Davante Adams is definitely a guy who could help you get there for sure. It is a good thing that the Saints and Rashid Shaheed prior to the season got a contract extension for 1 year done for $5 million. Because right now, Rashid Shaheed is starting to become a household name, someone everyone knows about. And teams, once he's a free agent or if he ever becomes a free agent, they're going to throw the freaking bag at him because the wide receiver market right now is nuts. He's probably going to get paid close to Jalen Waddle, $25-ish million a season. The dude right now is on pace to have 59 catches for 1,400 yards and 17 touchdowns. That is quite the stat line right there. And some teams are going to value him very highly and make him a really high-paid wide receiver in the NFL. And you can't forget that the Saints will also need to find a way to pay Chris Olave sometime soon. Both of these two guys are going to have to get paid very soon, and they both deserve it. Both of them have had adversity the last 2 years when it came to the quarterback, the play calling, their usage. And now these two are balling out under a new system and finally having good quarterback play. They also deserve to be paid because right now, as I'm recording this, they are the only two wide receivers with a catch on the Saints outside of Mason Tipton, who has one catch. So basically, every receiver who's caught a ball for the Saints has been Shaheed or Olave. No one else has yet to step up. And this offense really runs through Rashid Shaheed, Alvin Kamara, and Chris Olave. These three guys, the offense runs through them, and the system relies on them being playmakers. So in fact, really all three of these guys need to get their bag and get paid. And hopefully the Saints find a way to pay all three of these guys because man, do they deserve it. The Saints now get ready to take on the Philadelphia Eagles at home after a 2-0 start and crushing the Dallas Cowboys. And you even had Rashid Shaheed post-game tweeting out a meme with a guy wearing a Saints hat saying, "I want you to get the word out that we're back up." A pretty funny tweet right here. And when it comes to the Eagles, their secondary is weak. Darius Slay is below mid. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they got to attack him. That dude is below mid. Attack the secondary, run the ball, just do the thing, and they should be able to come out with a W. It'll be interesting to see how the Saints attack the Eagles secondary, plus how the Saints go to approach stopping Jalen Hurts and the Eagles running offense. One of Dennis Allen's biggest struggles as a defensive coordinator, stopping running quarterbacks, and the Eagles are going to be a really good test for that. We'll find out Sunday what happens between the Eagles and the Saints, but that doesn't change the fact that Rashid Shaheed is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Subscribe to my channel, Cash Sports, for more daily NFL content. Have a good one. Peace.